T.I.'s son, King Harris, has been arrested after not appearing in court and some other things connected to his act.
Trying to coddle him for. Let the man walk out, have some time to himself, sit down, soak it up, and come up with what he need to do.
Yeah, so him being arrested isn't really like the shocker. It's him coming out and his, I guess, reaction to it, right? Because everybody's saying, King, you grew up privileged, bro. Why are you going down this path? Now he's talking about F the police, F12. So, you know, it just, he.
We have rarely seen a celebrity saga spiral this brutally out of control, not even with the Harris family's long trail of messy public scandals. Right now, the world is holding its breath, watching and waiting for updates on King Harris, who's fighting for his life in intensive care after what insiders are calling a vicious, premeditated prison hit. Reports flooding out from inside those Georgia prison walls sound like something pulled straight out of a gangland movie. Sources say King was jumped inside his block, left barely conscious as chaos erupted around him. Guards scrambled to drag him out while the scene exploded into a full-scale riot, forcing an emergency lockdown. He was then rushed under armed escort to the infirmary, his face battered, swollen, and his body limp as staff fought desperately to restore order. And this wasn't just some random scuffle. Whispers say this was an organized ambush. Insiders claim some inmates were plotting to humble King for weeks. Theories are already swirling. Some say the attack was punishment for flaunting his privilege and family money, while others insist it was a cold-blooded message. In prison, your fame won't protect you, and weakness makes you prey. As soon as the news leaked, social media erupted in flames. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, everyone's got an opinion. Some fans showed sympathy, but plenty more mocked him, commenting that King finally met the real world and couldn't take the heat. Meanwhile, the Harris household has gone into absolute meltdown mode.
Steve Sadar reached out to me looking to make a deal on behalf of T.I. and Tiny. And I told Steve Sadar that my clients want justice. So if the deal involves Tiny and T.I. turning themselves in and admitting to the crime that they've committed, then fine, we got a deal. But if it does not, then I would prefer to have the investigators do their work and to bring criminal charges against Tiny and T.I.
Whispers say this might not even be the last attempt on King's life. One insider told me flat out, King had been marked for humiliation weeks ago. This wasn't by chance. This was planned. Another source close to prison staff claimed King was already hated behind bars, resented for his family's fame, and his own attempts to stand on business like he ran the yard. Even fellow inmates, speaking anonymously, admitted they warned him, watch your back, tone it down or else. But King didn't listen, and those empty threats exploded into brutal reality. And T.I., he's reportedly been in full-blown panic mode, not sleeping since the attack, burning up phone lines to lawyers, politicians, and anyone with pull in the Georgia prison system. One Atlanta source even claims Tip has put it all on the line, offering to write blank checks, make shady promises, even sign airtight NDAs if that's what it takes to get King out alive before the next strike comes. And let's not forget Tiny. Word is she's barricaded herself in a separate war room, pulling strings with publicists, lawyers, and media allies. But behind the scenes, their legendary family unity is starting to fracture under the pressure. The so-called royalty of Atlanta hip-hop now finds themselves living a nightmare, watching their son's name become the centerpiece of a scandal that could explode at any second. Sources say the arguments between T.I. and Tiny have gotten downright explosive, with both pointing fingers over how their son landed in this nightmare. Friends close to the family aren't even sure if they're fighting to save King or just tearing each other apart, while their son's life literally hangs in the balance.
So the dynamics here are interesting, but I can't judge how the parenting is gone, because everything that we've seen has been stuff that many of us would have said or similar if we saw our children do this. But I will say this, a lot of what's happening is because it's in the public. Like most children don't have to do this in the public.
The family that once branded themselves as unshakable is now cracking under the weight of pure chaos. And here's where it gets darker. Whispers are spreading that this wasn't about petty disrespect or random beef at all. Word is there was a failed contraband deal inside the prison, and King either refused to go along or worse, tried to finesse the wrong crew. In that world, loyalty is everything, and one wrong move can put a target on your back fast. So what really went down? Was this just a heated disagreement gone left, or was King Harris deliberately set up by inmates who felt betrayed? Sources tied to the investigation claim there's proof it was a setup. According to them, King was lured into a corner of the block where at least 3 men ambushed him, and get this, surveillance cameras mysteriously went dark at the exact same time. The Department of Corrections insists there was no glitch, but insiders aren't buying it. As one of Tip's old road managers bluntly said, "It's Georgia. Cameras break when they need to break. That's all you need to know." Meanwhile, King's condition is still shaky, and the Harris family tensions are boiling over for the world to see. Fans haven't forgotten the viral headlock moment at that Falcons game when T.I. put King in a chokehold live on Instagram after yet another public blow-up about his behavior. "You are embarrassing yourself and your family," Tip shouted while security rushed in and Tiny tried to hold it together. At the time, everyone thought that was King's rock bottom, but now it looks like that was only the beginning. This ambush proves things can sink even lower. King now strapped to a hospital bed while the Harris family's dirty laundry blows across the internet like wildfire. That infamous Falcons game fight, turns out that was just the dress rehearsal for something way uglier. The stakes aren't about family pride anymore. They're about pure survival. Truth is, prison was never safe ground for King, but insiders say the climate recently turned downright toxic. Sources reveal he was constantly taunted over his parents' scandals, especially the shadow of those old trafficking allegations that still haunt T.I. and Tiny, and by extension, their son.
I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for Family Hustle.
Right.
That does come with some, it's some adversity. It's some adversity to come with that. People get in your business.
Yeah.
And King didn't exactly help himself. Reports say he tried flexing for social media even behind bars, calling out rivals, and pushing his image as Atlanta's next big thing. But the older inmates weren't impressed. One ex-prisoner flat out told us, "We don't care who your daddy is. If you don't pay what you owe or you run your mouth, you get handled." That's the rule in here and now. King's paying that price on the outside. T.I., meanwhile, is burning every card left in the deck. Insiders claim he's threatened to go public with damning allegations about prison conditions, while at the same time, his team is quietly feeding friendly media outlets sympathetic stories to shift blame away from King and onto the system. It's a classic celebrity crisis move, but is it already too late? And behind all that frantic spin, one ugly thought lingers. What if this is what happens when you raise a son to believe he's untouchable, only for reality to punch back harder than anyone ever expected? Adding to the heat are whispers from industry veterans who say the Harris family's long trail of legal mess may have painted an even bigger target on King's back. His name keeps getting tied to those lingering trafficking claims that first blew up years ago but never disappeared. Accusers still hint at a twisted web of bad behavior allegedly tied to the family, and Sabrina Peterson, the ex-friend who started the fire, once went on record promising to drop explosive receipts that could drag not only T.I. and Tiny, but King himself into deeper legal quicksand. The feds never press charges, but in the court of public opinion, that stain never washes off. And just as the Harris legal team scrambles to shut one scandal down, another rumor pops up, this time about a secret deal inside the prison gone terribly sideways. King's name allegedly showed up on a contraband ledger, a broken promise tied to whispers that he either snitched or refused to pay up. Is it just prison gossip or the smoking gun? Insiders swear that inside those walls, when you cross the wrong crew, the price is always paid in blood. Add in King's privileged upbringing, his reality TV past, and the Harris family's never-ending trail of controversy, and it's no surprise he became a lightning rod for resentment from every angle. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, T.I. and Tiny's marriage is looking like a powder keg ready to blow. Sources say the two are clashing hard over how to handle King's spiral. Tiny is reportedly pleading for a softer, protective approach, blaming the system and outside enemies. But Tip? He's said to be getting more combative by the day, convinced King doesn't need excuses, he needs discipline and power plays. Tip is allegedly pulling strings nonstop, desperate to flex every connection and resource he's got to pull his son out of danger, and one source close to the couple dropped a chilling line. This is the single worst crisis they've ever faced together. Worse than the reality TV cancellation, worse than the ugly lawsuits, even worse than that viral Falcons game headlock fiasco. This isn't just another Harris headline, it's their entire family legacy hanging by a thread. The emotional toll is ripping them apart, with both parents lashing out while the rest of the Harris clan gets dragged into the blast zone. Zoom out, and the stakes couldn't be heavier. King, once the pampered wildcard of the Harris dynasty, is now trapped in a brutal new reality. Every headline, every whispered rumor, every panicked phone call from his father adds fuel to the same question. Will this end in redemption, or the complete unmaking of one of hip-hop's most famous families? And the scariest part, insiders say the most shocking details of the ambush, the real story of what happened to King inside that concrete jungle, still haven't even surfaced yet. Because behind those prison walls, the truth is crystal clear: money, fame, and even a powerful last name can't buy you safety. Prison runs on its own code, and King Harris, just like countless others before him, is learning those rules the brutal way. They're rules carved in blood, enforced without mercy, and they've never changed. Respect is earned through loyalty, not bought with fame or flashy headlines. Inside those walls, yesterday's chart position means nothing. Survival is the only headline that matters. High-profile inmates don't get protection, they get exposed. And right now, that truth is smashing down on King harder than anyone expected. In a world where survival depends on alliances, silence, and respect, the very thing that made him famous may have turned into his ultimate downfall. Was King's celebrity status the weapon used to destroy him? That's the chilling question haunting everyone watching this ambush unfold. And here's the twist. Those close to the situation insist this wasn't just about King as an individual, but about everything he represented. From the moment he stepped inside, he carried the Harris name, the reality TV baggage, and that notorious rep as T.I.'s wildest son. To men already serving decades, that's a lightning rod for jealousy, resentment, and unfinished business. Even correctional officers have quietly admitted off the record that inmates like King often turn into bargaining chips in the power struggles between rival factions. He wasn't just a target, he was a pawn in somebody else's bigger game. One source who did time in Georgia put it bluntly. They see an outsider with headlines and they want to send a message to him, to the other inmates, and to the world watching. Now, add in the whispers of a botched contraband deal, plus the never-ending swirl of his family's scandals, and suddenly King Harris looks less like a young man serving time and more like the centerpiece of a dangerous prison chess match with his life on the line. From the very first day, King was swimming with sharks, and this battle was never just about fists or bruises. Inside prison walls, psychological warfare cuts just as deep as physical blows. Every stare, every whisper, every rumor can be a warning or the setup for the next ambush. And for King, his privileged upbringing painted a bullseye on his back before he even walked through those gates. Some inmates looked at him and saw nothing but privilege. Private schools, flashy music videos, expensive lawyers most of them could never dream of. Others were insulted by his attempts to act tough, to stand on business, when deep down everyone knew he had lived more reality TV than real street life. That mix of resentment and disbelief made him a perfect target. Behind the scenes, lawyers are scrambling to spin the narrative while the Harris family tears itself apart over the next move. Some relatives are urging caution, terrified that too much noise could spark another attack, but others argue that silence equals surrender, that the Harris name can't afford to look weak in the middle of this public storm. And while they argue, the rest of the Harris kids are stuck in the crossfire, dragged into ugly speculation about old paternity rumors, resurfaced family disputes, and every piece of dirt the internet can dig up. The line between private heartbreak and public scandal is vanishing fast. Every leak, whether whispered by a prison guard or blasted out by a so-called family friend, pours gasoline on the blaze. Step back and the bigger picture is chilling. King's near-fatal beating proves one thing beyond doubt. The justice system doesn't bow to fame. It chews you up and spits you out, celebrity or not. Inside those walls, family money, flashy lawyers, and hip-hop royalty don't matter. The only currency is raw, unforgiving power. What started as a fight for respect has now spiraled into a high-stakes war for survival. Not just for King Harris, but for the entire Harris dynasty. T.I. is reportedly pulling every string he can reach, trying to outmaneuver a system that's already claimed too many lives. But insiders say this chain reaction from the prison ambush may only just be getting started. King is clinging to life, and every new headline suggests this wasn't just a one-off attack. It may be the opening chapter of a far darker saga. And the haunting question remains, is King Harris simply another casualty of his family's fame, or is there something even deeper driving all this chaos? Could this ambush unlock rivalries and secrets so explosive that not even the Harris empire can contain them? Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video, because when it comes to the Harris family, the drama never sleeps. Stay sharp, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one, because trust me, this saga is only just getting started.